Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Benjamin, and welcome to my initial ratings for the 2024 presidential election. And there's another map that I'm going to show you, but this I think is a reasonably fair map to look at for 2024. I think it could definitely show what could happen both directions. And I think it definitely shows that 24 should be a reasonably competitive election. I have ignored the splits in Nebraska and Maine because redistricting is really going to change those. Well, it should. It will likely change those, especially in Nebraska, where the GOP controls the redistricting process, and they're probably going to district it in such a way that the second district does not go for a Democrat ever again. And then, of course, Maine, it might change it, it might not change it. It really just depends. This is probably one of the very few times where I'm going to actually say that Florida is leans GOP well in advance before we even know the candidates. I definitely think Florida. I'm not sure what to think about that, but it's where I see it going right now. The states I have is purple or toss up. That'd be Michigan, Pennsylvania, North Carolina, Georgia, Arizona. Though there are some interesting trends, and I based this mostly off of what I expect partisanship to be in 24. And right now I've only got this sheet basically is setting up so that I can have my model up and running when Biden takes office. The only state that I don't have official certified results for yet is Pennsylvania. But it's close enough that, guess what? Doesn't matter. Now, this is the map form of where each state trended relative to the nation. And I have to make that extremely clear that I measure my 0 point not from the state's 2016 results, because I think that's ridiculous. That does not provide any useful information. It really does not. Instead, I measure from the national result of that election, and I measure from the national result of the previous election. So, for example, the 2020 partisanship, the partisanship is, well, the difference is about four and 2/3. So a third taken from Republicans, a third added to Democrats, and then 2 points as well, right? And that yields a 4.66. And that is my 0 mark. And then I measure partisanship based off of the difference between and I get the partisanship. That way, and I've done it the same way with 2016, and that yields the partisanship for 2016, and then I simply take another difference between each state's 2020 and 2016. A negative number means it trended in the direction of the party that it was already in favor of. A positive number indicates it trended in the opposite direction. Probably not going to put a link to this there. So I'm going to kind of ignore states quite a few states in this, simply because the 2016 trend does not reinforce the long-term trend I found. Sorry, Idaho should have been blue. Those two don't. That doesn't. Generally speaking, the Deep South is not reinforced. Those states are actually reinforced. That's actually reinforced. Maryland is reinforced. New York slightly, okay, yeah. Connecticut and Rhode Island, not reinforced. New Hampshire, that doesn't reinforce its historic trend in that also. And when I say historic trend, I mean in the current direction. So basically, actually, Nebraska's trend was reinforced. So, and Massachusetts was not. So, generally speaking, the Southeast corridor, we're going to ignore Florida because Florida is its own world. We're ignoring Florida because it's its own world. Generally speaking, the Southeast corridor has indeed been trending towards the Democrats. That said, Georgia has been trending slower than North Carolina, is trended slower than Virginia, and all of them trend slower than South Carolina. So I do find Georgia's flip in 2016 to be suspicious. I definitely think there was some shenanigans going on. But that's not to say that Georgia isn't a state that should have been on the GOP's watch. Alaska is another state that I identified as a state that was getting more and more competitive. Texas as well, Arizona as well, the desert Southwest in general has been trending towards the Democrats. Actually, all of these states up in this area have been trending towards the Republicans. It just, a few of them went the other direction this cycle. New England, I've actually seen, New Hampshire actually hasn't been trending either direction. And I'm going to also extend to the Mid-Atlantic. All of these states here, Massachusetts, Rhode Island, Connecticut, New Jersey, and Delaware, and Maine, have all, from what I've been able to determine in the with the methodology I use, you can use other methodologies and get slightly different results. But all of these states, in New York, I'm going to also include just because it's Mid-Atlantic, all of those states have actually been slowly, and keyword is slowly, trending towards the Republicans. So their shift back towards the Democrats doesn't reinforce the trend that we've seen over the past 20 years. So when I come up with and use that, I average out the long-term trend with the trend from 2020, because sometimes an election will exacerbate a long-term trend. Sometimes it will flip a long-term trend because of a candidate's unique qualities. For example, Biden played really well in the suburbs, and that kind of exacerbated one trend, but Trump still plays well with, and the GOP is getting better and better at getting working class whites, especially in the Rust Belt, as well as being very good with rural voters. There are a few exceptions to that, Vermont being a very good example of where rural voters did not go for Donald Trump. But that's kind of the weird thing about a single election. That's why you can't just look at a single election to base the next forecast off of. Is it a good starting point? Yes, but you're going to need a lot more information. So when I say this is my baseline and this is my way too early 2024 presidential ratings, there's a good reason why I say that, and most of it has to do with I'm looking at the long-term trends and factoring in the shift from 16 to 20 when looking at those long-term trends and saying, okay, these trends probably are not a permanent thing that's just going to happen. And just because a group of people in a state said, no, I don't like this particular candidate, doesn't mean that they're going to reject the party of that candidate completely. After all, in just about every state, the Senate candidates, the Republican Senate candidates outperformed Donald Trump. So that's kind of what I'm looking at. Anyway, I'm going to go ahead and end it here. I want to thank everyone for watching. I hope you all enjoyed. See you next time. Take it easy. And a like, comment, and a subscription would really help. And I want to thank my patron, Will. Thank you, everyone. Have a very nice evening. And stay safe out there. Bye-bye.